What's going on, everyone? It's Cam here, Senior National Trading Manager. This is going to be our next reel-to-reel on the new channels expansions. And so we came out with a lot of new channels. We pretty much released them all at once. They are now uploaded on the website. You can order them as configured solutions, field assembly, and hybrid assemblies. We're going to talk a little bit about the high-level specs on each one of them. I'm going to show some concept images. Obviously, we just released these, so we don't have a lot of the application shots that we wished we would have. So please let us know if you ever use this in a project. We would love to take before shots if possible, even after shots as the finished look. We're trying to obviously get more of these application shots on the website. So just keep in mind some of these are a little bit AI-ish and stuff. We're also going to do a lot of switching around the day because I don't want to go through all the high-level specs of these channels without showing you each individual one. So we're going to be doing the high-level specs, and then we'll get over to the top-down camera, show the form factor of this channel. Some of them I'm going to load with Streamline just to give you an idea of what it will look like on camera. Obviously, reminding you guys that cameras never capture the light perfectly. So, all right, let's get over to the slides here. So, new channel profiles in 2025. As you can see, we have released a lot of mud-in expansion here. So some reveal channels, or what I would like to call perimeter channels, a new half-inch mud-in. So now we have that 2-inch, we have that 1-inch, and we have that half-inch, as well as a single flange, and one of my favorites, a flexible mud-in, as well as some really cool walkover rated, very simple, cost-effective channels that allow you to have a reveal or a lip for your channel, even when you haven't built that out with under cabinet, as well as some, probably my two favorite are shelf or cabinet channels as well. All right, so we're going to start out with the mud-in 1-inch wall reveal. So we're calling this a wall reveal. You can really see this as perimeter lighting when you want to butt up a mud-in channel from the wall to the ceiling. So you're going to have two different flanges that are perpendicular to each other. You can see here it's really for that seamless architectural accent lighting. I want you to kind of focus on how linear lighting is really starting to take over the space. So if you come into a space and you're designing an area in a residential home or some type of commercial space, a lot of times people overuse point sources. Point sources, you can see those as, you know, wraps or downlights specifically. And so what you can do with a reveal channel, a perimeter light, is you can reduce the amount of point sources and be able to have a nice even linear light that squares all the way around the room to give you good illumination and still be able to utilize point sources, but a lot less. Okay, so this one, you can see here on all of our channel and the high profile specs, we're going to talk about what it's compatible with. So since this is a larger cavity, this is going to be 12 millimeter and 8 millimeter terminal block compatible. Now, mind you, if I say it's terminal block compatible, that also means obviously it is soldered lead only, soldered lead as well, because a soldered lead is a much more low profile connection. This channel also, though, is compatible with our RGBW terminal block as well. Notice on all of these channel profiles, we are only offering them as of right now in 96-inch sections when it comes to field assembly. So if you want to buy this in bulk, we do not have the 48-inch 4-foot sections. It's only 8-foot sections, or you can do custom lengths. And as always with Diode LED, we have that 5-year warranty on our channels. So we're going to switch over here, take a look at this. Okay, so this is our 1-inch wall reveal. And so I'm going to show you here, we have kind of at the edge here. Imagine if this is the wall moving up to the actual ceiling. You could then obviously mud it in on the wall with the perpendicular flange here, and then mud it in as well on the ceiling. The goal of this is that you have two different mud-in flanges to keep it really nice and tight. It's not going to bow. Okay, and so imagine if you are down, if this is shining down your way, you could have a square room or a rectangular room and have this box the entire room going around and have really nice perimeter lighting. Imagine you could do even RGBW or tunable white, you could do pixel and have it chase, and then this allows you to reduce the amount of point sources. All right, so this is kind of what we're talking about when it comes to perimeter lighting. So being able to have a nice linear lighting going all the way around the space, still gives you good, even illumination. Obviously, you could put very bright tape light in here. You don't need to, though. It could be a glare bomb. So for me, if you're trying to produce general illumination out of this, I would probably go with a 500 lumen a foot tape light. And you could, if you needed to, bump that up to 800 lumens a foot. But really, this is meant for both accent. It gives the space depth, okay? It gives it borders, but again, has that nice soft glow going around the space. Okay, we also came out with a similar channel, just a mud-in 1/2 inch wall reveal. So you can see here, though, there are some slight differences. So, for example, it is only soldered lead only. Okay, so it does fit 12 millimeter tape light in there and 8 millimeter, but it is soldered lead only. So you cannot use our terminal blocks. And then still has that 96-inch length, and then you can do this in custom lengths as well. There's going to be 2 channels today I'll show you that don't come with custom lengths. Okay, so we already showed that. It's just a smaller version of it, but again, this is just another concept image of what you could do with perimeter lighting. Instead of walking into this space and seeing a bunch of downlights all fluttered all throughout the ceiling, you can now reduce those downlights, use them in specific areas that you need good illumination or task lighting, and create that ambiance or that ambient lighting, that general illumination from the linear perimeter light. All right, we also have our flexible mud-in channel. Okay, so there's going to be slight differences with this. So I'm going to showcase. We are still working on the data for this right now. I actually just went to engineering, and we are working on some bend radiuses that we can give you that we can actually put on the spec sheets. I will say this, from just testing this channel out, on one of these sides, you can bend it much better, and I'll show you why that's the case, versus the other bend radius is a lot less. Just note, though, that this is using a silicone lens. Now, this is I want you to see this as a preview to our rolled lenses that are going to be coming in the future. We are going to possibly be releasing some silicone-based lenses that you could get in 16-foot sections, 30-foot sections, or 100-foot sections, where we actually take a hardener, where we infuse the hardener to the silicone, especially on the edges where it snaps in, so that this way it holds into the channel, but you could do up to 100 feet of unbroken light. So when you get a sample of this, you'll notice this is kind of the preview to that style of silicone that really no one else in the industry is doing right now. Also, notice that you are going to have to be able to have that bend radius and curve it. You will have to put the tape light on the side of the cavity, not facing down. It's not mounted down, shooting up, but actually on the side so that it obviously keeps to the bend radius of the channel. So I'm going to showcase this to you. Okay. So this is just a small little section. I'm going to grab the bigger section here in just a second. Okay. Now notice, though, so on one of these sides, you have these gaps. Okay, so obviously this is the side that you can bend much better towards the gap. You can see here. Okay, versus on the other side, you have even extruded aluminum all the way through without those gaps. Okay, so I'm going to show you here in just a second, but I wanted to showcase the silicone lens. If you get a sample of this, you'll notice, see how we infuse this hardener to the sides of it. So this definitely snaps in like a normal lens here. So, sorry, I'm trying to do this through the camera. So you can snap this in, you can use a seam roller if you want to and snap it all the way down. So it snaps in, it holds its weight, gravity is not gonna pull it down. It's really a unique type of lens. It still has really good glare control. That's what I love about the silicone. We were very surprised when we first started testing these out on how good it looks in direct view. It gives you a nice even illumination. Okay, I'm gonna turn this on here. So for the sake of the camera, I'm going to put this shooting down here, shooting straight up. You would put this on the side. Okay, oops, like this. I'm going to do that. Okay, pop it down here. Okay, and you can see here, really nice glare control in the middle there. You can see how it gives you really good even illumination from edge of the lens to the edge of the lens. Very good for direct view. Okay, and then let me show it to you in a larger channel. So pop it over here. Okay, so you can notice here, this is going to be on the bend radius that has those gaps right here. So you can really bend this and do different types of curvature. What's nice about this is it's not like our waveform where once you bend it, you are stuck with that bend radius. You can unbend this. It just takes a little bit of time, obviously. And then I'll show you on the other side here. So let me go. I like to bend it around the body here. you can see it still gives you good bend radius, but I'm kind of starting to get stopped right here due to that metal getting pushed together. You just don't have as strong of a bend radius, okay? Awesome. Okay, let's move on to the next one. You can see here, this is just some concept images of what you could do with flexible curved muddin, right? So really some unique designs. Obviously, you need to make sure you have a good sheetrocker that's doing the install. It's hard enough to already do muddin in straight lines, let alone curved, but we do have some extra training on that if you ever need help with that, or at least want to know how to speak about that intelligently to an installer. We do know kind of the step-by-steps that they need to work on to achieve these types of applications. Okay, and then everyone's been asking for it. We're excited to launch this. This is our new half-inch muddin channel. Okay, so obviously being half-inch, it's only soldered lead only, but you can get this in custom lengths. I did forget to mention with the flexible muddin channel that we just talked about, just note that you're not going to be able to get that in fully loaded custom lengths. We are going to ship that out as a channel only with the spools of tape lay so that they can do a field install. It is just going to save a lot of headaches, let's just say that, especially when you're trying to get the exact lengths that you need for those curves. It's much easier to do that in the field, so we are holding off on doing factory custom configured solutions with that flexible muddin channel. Okay, and so let's switch over here and we'll take a look at it. You can notice much smaller in diameter, okay? Really nice polycarbonate lens. You notice here we are not doing the opal like we have on the 2-inch and 1-inch. Just keep in mind that is an update coming. We are trying to slowly get rid of those old opal lenses that can have a little bit of a pink chip. So that is coming, the 2-inch and the 1-inch. We are eventually going to have some type of polycarbonate lens, which looks much better. But you can see it here, right? Very, very small aperture, nice clean lines. So that's the goal, right, is very tiny lines of light, almost as if it was an integrator, contractor one time said, an installer, said it best. He said that linear lighting is like 5 years behind luxury cars. And what did we see with luxury cars and lighting 5 years ago? Pinstripe, small aperture, dotless lines of light that were flexible going through the cars. That is what we're now starting to see with linear lighting. People want it smaller. They don't want to see the dots anymore. They want these smaller apertures for that more modern minimalistic design. Okay, and then we also have a mud-inch, 1-inch single flange channel. Okay, and so you can see here it is 8mm terminal block compatible. So that means it is soldered lead, but just not 12mm terminal block compatible. Okay, and again, you can get it in 8 feet and in custom lengths. And let me show you an example of where you could use this. Now, I know a lot of people off the bat are going to think that you could use this for perimeter lighting. I would strongly not suggest that because that is a single flange versus having a dual flange that is perpendicular. This is going to hold that channel in place to both walls, both the wall and the ceiling. If you do this as a perimeter light coming from the ceiling, right, boom, butting it up to the wall, you can have bowing. Depending on how good the sheetrock was installed, it can cause you some problems. So where we see this is being integrated in tile, right, integrating this into different types of stair tread noses. So for example, putting it here, shooting it up, reversing it, shooting it down, putting it into tile at the corners of tile. So there's a lot of areas that you could integrate this using a single flange, okay? All right. Okay, recess angle channel. I'm going to talk about both of these here first, 2 different channels, and then we'll go and check them out here. So we have the recess angle channel. You can really see this more as like a recess 30-degree channel. And so you can notice, right, the idea of this is that in lighting design, there is a saying where they talk about if the light is below your eyes, you shoot it down. If it is above your eyes, you shoot it up. But we all know that that is not we don't live in a perfect world. So unfortunately, we will have floating shelves or we will have cabinets that might start below and then work their way up and start going above your eyes. And Ted, could you switch over to the straightforward camera? And so you'll see what I'm talking about here is that you could have floating shelves that start maybe down here, okay, and then they work their way up above your eyes. Now, what do you do in that situation, right? You can't put light shooting up on the top ones and then shooting down on the bottom ones, that would look not symmetrical. It would just look off. It's not good design. So the goal of these two channels is to make it where whenever you recess these into a cabinet or into some type of floating shelf, the light is always going to direct away from your eyes into the shelf or into the cabinet, okay? So the goal of it is something similar to this, where you're not seeing these lines of light working through this little bookshelf here. You still see the glow of the light going into the bookshelf, but you're not getting that direct glare, those lines of light right in your eyes. And we also came out with probably my favorite channel is the recess 45-degree channel. So it's a little bit of a stronger angle. It is a larger channel. And so I want to showcase to you both of these. Okay, so we have the recessed angled channel. You can notice there it's a little bit of a, almost kind of like a 30-degree here. And so if you notice, see how it's kind of bending back towards, the light is going to be directed away. So what you could do is you could recess this in. So imagine if this is the floating shelf and you recess it in, okay? Now, from direct view, the line of light is not going to be showing in your eyes. It's always going to be being pushed back into the floating shelf or back into the cabinet. Now, this is not a harsh angle. So really, if you have a lot of cabinets or shelves that are above your eyes, I strongly suggest using the recess 45 degree. So it's a little bit of a larger channel, as you can see here, but recessed in, you're not going to see that much of the hardware, but you have a much sharper angle. And so we can always recess this in, and then now it has this nice almost floating effect to the floating shelf or the cabinet. And again, you're not looking up at all these cabinets in a commercial space, for example, and just seeing lines of light. Now I get it. It's much better than what we had 10 years ago with puck lights. It's much better than the dotted tape light. So I get it. It's still okay to do regular linear lines of light. It's just we're evolving as a lighting industry. And so we're trying to do more and more indirect view lighting. Okay, moving on here. So this is just another example, right? Being able to push that back towards the backsplash. Okay, and then we also have the S1 cutoff channel. So this is one of our most cost-effective channels. The S1 is probably our most popular channel across the country. Doesn't come in finish options or lens options, but what we wanted to be able to offer people, specifically in the stock and flow side of our business, is a lot of times you're doing remodel jobs. You're coming in, you're taking out 120 volt under cabinet lights. Maybe you're using the Switch X or the Switch X R1 to be able to kind of have that nice remodel where the driver sits behind the dimmer, but you're not dealing with a lip. You don't have a lip that's built into that cabinet. The goal of this channel is that you could still surface mount it, so now you don't have to do millwork. You don't have to pay heavier price on install. You don't have to screw up the install possibly by doing that millwork and using flanges and all that stuff. So you could still surface mount this and have this nice cutoff of light. Okay, and then I want to show you here, this is the same concept as the cutoff S1, but it's called our simple L channel. This is the only other one where we are going to ship this as 96-inch sections only. We are not going to have this loaded. As you can see, it's very, very simple without a lens. So I want to take a look at these together. So this, as you can see here, is the S1 cutoff, okay? So the reason why it has this little rib here is that when the lenses, the clips, they snap around it, this will then, boom, the clip will snap into this. The goal of this, though, right, is that you have the same S1, cost-effective, and like I said, that scenario where maybe you're not dealing with a lip on the under cabinet, you can mount this, surface mount it, not have to deal with millwork, and then utilize this as a cutoff of light. Use this as the actual lip. You can paint this if needed, depending on the type of paint. You could also use this as perimeter lighting. So those mud-in channels I showed you earlier for perimeter lighting, that's obviously a much heavier install, much more money. You could surface mount this on the ceiling and have this border the entire room and have this being the cutoff of light so it's not in direct view. The goal of the simple L channel is the same idea as the S1 channel with the cutoff, just without a lens, okay? So you have two different sides to it. So imagine you could do 8mm tape light here, so streamlight, and have a larger cutoff, okay, a larger reveal, and you could paint this if needed, right? Paint it white if you're doing perimeter lighting up on the ceiling and surface mounting it. You would just obviously do countersunk screws through this, to be able to mount it. Or you could do a larger tape light on the other side here, 12 millimeter tape light, and have just a shorter reveal. So this is really the goal of these two channels, is to give you some options like the reveal mud-in channels, just without having the heavy install and the heavy price of those channels and the labor and all of that, okay? All right, last couple ones here. So we also came out with, last three here. We came out with a short recess channel. So the goal of this is we were running into a lot of millwork applications where it was floating shelves, but they barely had any wood. The shelves were very, very skinny, very minimalistic in design. So we wanted to come out with some type of recess channel that was very, very low profile. Before I show it to you, just a number one recommendation is use Streamlight in this channel. Okay, the lens is so close to that cavity that anything else is going to get a hot spot going through the middle or runaway diffusion like dotting. So let me show you this close up. Okay, you can see how small this is with my thumb, right? Very, very low profile. Okay, still get nice flanges. So the goal of this, as you can see from the side profile, is very, very low profile. So you do not have to deal with that thick of wood to be able to do millwork with this. Okay, just another option for you to keep in your back pocket. All right, and then last two I'm going to go together here. So this would be an example, right? This shelf is probably big enough to do normal recess channel, but the idea, right, is that shelf, that wood floating shelf, was maybe half the size in depth, right? You wouldn't have much wood to work with. This is where you would want to use that short recess channel. Okay, and then last two that just go over, and then we'll bring it to questions, is we also finally came out with some walkover channels. So this is called our short walkover channel. You can see it as much more low profile than the next one, but also it has flanges. So see this as a short cavity, but also that it has flanges, which obviously, just like walkover rated channels, it's the same thing as millwork. It depends on the installer. Some installers are very good at what they do. They don't need the flanges. Some installers want to be able to have those flanges to make sure that if they make a mistake while they're milling out the wood floor, that they have some wiggle room for those flanges. You can see here, very small cavity, so we're only doing soldered leads. And then we also, this is an example of walkover rated. So for example, too, you see on the left side there, left and right side, you could see that is like the single flange mud-in. So they could have put a single flange mud-in on the sides and then utilizing some type of walkover rated channel on the floor. One of the coolest installations I've ever seen was at an art installation where they had multiple floors to this project, and they had all these art installations. And so you could go into the space, look at these LCD screens on the wall, and then they were touch control. You could scroll through all of the art installations, get a description of them, a picture of them. If you wanted to go check it out, it would have a button that said, "Come see me." And in the walkover rated channel, they program pixel tape light to the average walking speed. So literally, it would direct you to the actual art installation. They had walkover rated channels everywhere through this art installation. So just an example of a really high-end luxury application. And then we also have just our standard walkover channel. So see this one as non-flange, but a deeper cavity, so you can do a lot brighter of tape light and not have a hot spot going through the middle. Right, both of them have those reinforced lenses. You will see once you get a sample in hand what I'm talking about. It's a unique type of lens that obviously you can take a high heel or a boot and stepping on it, and it's going to last throughout the project. So let me show you these, and we'll take it to questions. So this is our short walkover rated channel. You can see how that lens is very, very thick. Okay, this is just a little different profile view of it. Very, very short in dimensions. Okay, but you again have those flanges, much easier of an install. Then you have the regular walkover rated channel. This is really reinforced aluminum, very strong lens here. Okay, but again, almost no hardware showing on the sides. So if you get this right, this can look really, really good in wood floors and different types of applications like that. Again, has a deeper cavity so that you can do very bright tape light if necessary, if you need some good illumination. Usually where I see that is they'll put some very bright tape light and they'll put this on the wood floors, but on the sides, kind of then glowing up the walls a little bit, but out of the actual pathway so that you're not getting eyesores and glare bombs as you walk through. So if you have any questions about product or anything like that, please reach out to info@diodeled.com. Okay, and then If you have something that is training related, please reach out to training@diodeled.com. So we're not going to be answering the questions about products. Send that in to info@diodeled.com. If you need a sample, if you have a project request, send that in to info@diodeled.com. You'll get much faster response time. So with that, I appreciate it. I probably went a little bit over the day. We had a lot of different stuff to cover, so I apologize. Again, I'm Cam, Senior National Training Manager. This was Reel to Reel, where we're bringing reels of tape light to real life on our new channel expansion. Be on the lookout for the next Reel to Reel. We'll be sending that data and what we're going to be talking about in the next 2 weeks. So awesome. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.